Hello, everybody. Welcome to Livefire on Hangfire TV. I'm your host this week, Cosmo.
And I'm Ken.
And I'm Jeremy.
And today we are talking about 3D printed guns. Don't be a
Those
hater.
3D printed guns. Oh my God, they're so scary because like anybody can print one and make an illegal gun. They can go through metal detectors and get them on airplanes and in like courthouses and all kinds of crazy shit.
Wait a minute,
And
Jeremy.
like,
Metal detectors? I thought I just saw metal on his rifle.
Yeah, yep, that's true.
really?
The lower
Oh my
receiver,
gosh.
the lower receiver on this is made out of plastic, but the rest of it's a real gun. The important parts are metal.
What would
Otherwise,
happen
this
though
would blow up in your face. You would no
if it was
longer
made
have,
out of all plastic?
well, with the 223, you would no longer have eyeballs or a face to worry about, I'm pretty sure.
So out of everything that you have printed on that rifle right now, what more could you 3D print and it still be a safe weapon?
Uh, well, you could probably 3D print scope rings or hand guards. Uh,
But what
the
but
stock's 3D printed also.
but what about like the buffer tube?
That's got some friction, right? When the buffer and the spring rubbing on it. I don't think I would want to 3D print one of those.
Yeah, that all that force coming back, it's bad enough with the solid printed ones, the back half coming off.
But what
Yes.
about like what material did you print that out of?
That is printed out of ABS, and if you're printing guns, you don't want to print it out of PLA, which is the other kind of 3D printer filament. And here's a piece of it right here, actually. This is PLA. It's
Why?
actually some kind of
So for our
cornstarch.
viewer, so for our viewers that don't know much about the different types of plastic in the general household, what would those two plastics be represented by?
Uh, this stuff probably wouldn't really exist in your household. It's biodegradable, made out of corn. Um, ABS is basically what everything injection molded is made out of. So
So maybe
the S in ABS stands for styrene, which means it has some flex in it. So this is PLA. It just
whoa.
snaps. So that's not something you want
So
next to your face in a gun when you're firing it.
so biodegradable silverware and whatnot would maybe be made out of PLA.
Could be,
In
but it's
Well,
go ahead.
you were saying that you could possibly print the handguard out of ABS. Well, what is the melting point of ABS, and would it be able to survive the heat from the barrel and the gas tube?
I imagine if you were shooting full auto, it would not survive. But on my printer, I print ABS at 260 degrees Celsius, which is pretty darn hot.
Gotcha.
speaking of your printer, what do you use?
So actually, let me show you ABS. Okay, it didn't break, it just bent. That's good. That's what you want. Anyway, I have an Ultimaker 2, which is a very nice printer. It's one of the higher end models.
What do those normally run?
$2,500.
So let's think hypothetically on this one. I'm a criminal. I want to print an undetectable gun.
You look like a criminal.
Shut up. But what would I have to do in order to print an undetectable gun that I could sneak through metal detectors and crap like that?
Okay, well, I have here another example of something 3D printed. This is called the Wash Bear. It's a 22 LR revolver, basically. Now, in order to be legal, you need metal in here so that it doesn't violate the Undetectable Firearms Act. But if you were a criminal, you could, in theory, build this mostly with no metal. You might only get one shot one shot out of each tube in the cylinder with that before it broke. Plus, this is a 22, so it's not terribly strong. But you also have to keep in mind that your ammo is made out of metal. You know, the cases for the ammo is made out of metal. So this thing, I I don't think it's very much of a threat at all. In fact, when I finish building this, if I ever do, you put metal inside the grip so that it's detectable by a metal detector, and also chamber inserts made out of stainless steel, liners for the chambers so they don't split.
So at the moment, that is nowhere near a functioning firearm.
No, this is just basically the frame and the cylinder. You can see there's no trigger or anything else, no firing pin, no springs or anything inside.
And how many hours do you have in those few pieces in your hand?
Oh, it took me a few days to make these. So that's the other
so
thing. It takes a long time to print anything.
If I was a criminal and I wanted to
You look
print
like one.
that, shut up.
That sounds familiar.
Okay, and I wanted to print that wash bear
Yeah.
firearm, how long would I have to wait for it to be all the way done, do you think?
It'd probably take you 3 days to build it,
So you're
or
saying
to print and put it together.
So you're saying that I couldn't just like turn on my 3D printer and within 10 minutes I'd have a functioning gun?
No, no.
Well, see, here's the problem with that. That's what society thinks 3D printers are all about. And
Yeah.
what people are going to do with firearms that are made by 3D printers is that you could flip on your 3D printer and within a matter of minutes you're going to have a functioning firearm that's
Yeah.
going to be lethal.
That's not the case at all. In fact, here is an AR-15 lower. It's printed as one piece. I believe that's 22 hours to print that.
Just that piece.
That's continuously. Plus, then when it's done, you've got to clean it all up and actually build the thing because it's got all the lower parts inside of it.
And how many of those have you printed before you got one that worked?
This was, I think, my third try, maybe fourth.
Of that particular model?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow. So you mentioned something about the Undetectable Firearms Act.
Yep.
Explain more about what that is.
Okay, so that was signed into law by Ronald Reagan in 1988. Basically, so that people don't make guns that aren't detectable by metal detectors. That's really what it boils down to.
Okay. Well, I wonder why he signed that into law. Oh, yeah, it was because of Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the Die Hard
Oh.
movie talking about a magical Glock that was made out of all plastic, which never even existed.
No. It was ceramic, and it was the Glock 7. It's a big running joke in the Glock circles. It's the Glock 7.
All made up.
It's all made out of ceramic. And it's
Because
undetectable.
ceramic would handle the concussion of a firearm discharging.
Especially like a 9mm that's high velocity, or a 40 S&W that has a lot of, 7 to 900 FPS. Yeah, ceramic can really handle that. That's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
So for somebody to 3D print themselves a weapon, they would first off need a quality 3D printer. You said yours cost over $2,000.
Yeah, you could get a good one for $1,000 and build it yourself. But that's going to take you
computer.
another 40 hours of work to put that together.
A computer, the modeling software to do it, to make the printer do its thing.
The 3D printer
materials.
filament, yeah, it's about $25 a roll, and you could print probably 2 to 3 of these out of a roll.
And that's just that piece. So we're talking several $1,000s for somebody to make an undetectable firearm.
That
they
would
could-
cost $100 if you just went to the store and bought it.
Or depending on what model of lower, it could be $50 to $60.
Yes, that's true. So
what's the
For a
point?
criminal, it'd just be easier for them just to go to their back alley dealer and get a stolen firearm.
yeah, much easier.
Which is
actually.
exactly how they
And
acquire them
and
anyway.
it'd be way more reliable. Or there's the other option, which is this, an 80% lower, which is basically a real lower receiver that just isn't finished being milled yet. You could get one of these for $30 to $50 online, no background check, take it home, finish it in a drill press, and then you've got a real AR that's not going to split apart on you like a plastic one might.
So
But you
what's
can't just take it home and put it into a drill press. You need other parts to make it clean up properly, right?
Yeah, so there's a jig that clamps onto here and some bits that you need to drill it out. It's work for sure, but this is kind of
So
a
what's the
hobby of
point?
people to build these. What's the point of this?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple things. One is you built it yourself, which is cool, and the other is it doesn't have a serial number, so nobody knows this gun exists. Which some people
The
are
government is
some
not
people
supposed
are
to
into
know
that.
our guns exist.
But they do. Every time you do a background check, they just, who knows what they're keeping because they're not supposed to. but they know they ran a background check on you, so I'm sure there's a checkbox somewhere in your file that says this guy's got guns.
Well, and also your FFL has a bound book that
Yeah.
tells you what guns they sold to who. So the ATF can come back, audit them, and find out all their guns and who they went to. So yes, there are records for every single gun that you buy from an FFL.
Yeah, so the people in California have tried to ban these. They've tried to regulate the rest of the parts of an AR-15 as if they were firearms themselves, because once you have this lower built, you can order the rest of the parts on the internet and just have them sent to your house.
Oh no, that's scary.
And then as long as you've got all the tools to put it together and know what you're doing. You know.
Without it blowing up in your face.
Yeah, well, that's not so much a risk if you're buying pre-made parts, but the nice thing...
I know we're getting off the topic of 3D printed
Oh,
firearms,
sorry.
but I have a friend that has started one of those 80% lowers, and he is several hours into it with a standard home drill press and the jig, and is still only a third of the way done.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as just going to town with a drill press and you're done with a firearm.
No,
So-
because you've got to drill these holes in the side for the hammer and trigger pins, and that's like the most critical dimension of an entire AR-15 lower receiver. If those aren't the right spacing, then it's not going to work. But the jigs
So
usually
what-
got holes in them for
I
that.
vaguely remember reading an article somewhere about a company that was giving away the 3D models for AR-15 magazines. Have you messed with that at all?
Defense Distributed has an AR-15 magazine. I've printed, I think, 6 of them and never got one that functioned. It was just a huge pain, and it was not worth it. In a world where PMags cost $9, there's no reason at all to do that.
So what's
The only reason would be if you're not allowed to have them and can't get them, and that's your only choice, and you need to go to war, I guess. I don't know.
why did you decide to like 3D print those lowers?
Oh, so
What was your reasoning for it?
So, funny thing, I've had my 3D printer for about a year and a half now, and when I first got it, I told people I have a 3D printer. Every single person, are you going to make guns? And it's like, no, I don't want to make guns because 3D printed guns sound really stupid. Why would I do that when I have real ones made out of metal, right? Well, eventually, I got curious and started looking around, and I found these group of people called FOSSCAD, FOSSCAD, and what they've done is, well, they've designed a whole lot of these firearms, including these AR-15 lowers that I showed you so far, and released them in a big package of stuff, which includes all kinds of firearm-related things that you can print or mill yourself at home if you have a CNC machine or whatever. So the original problem was people tried to 3D print plastic guns that looked just like the metal ones, and they would break right here because it's a really thin spot and the layers would separate and the buffer tube would snap off.
I can imagine that can be quite dangerous.
Yeah, well, maybe. So this lower is called the Vanguard JT, and you can see how much thicker this spot is right here. In fact, it was so thick that a regular castle nut would not fit, and I had to design my own and 3D print that too, just to lock the buffer tube in place. This actual lower had some problems. You can see how the pinhole in the front is egged out. It wasn't designed with the pinholes the right distance apart, and this area didn't have the cutout for the forward assist, which is why somebody made the Vanguard JT 1.1, which is this right here. And you can see it had.
Wait.
Wait.
Whoa.
What?
Is that pink?
Why are you laughing?
Is that pink?
Do not adjust your monitors. This is pink.
Does it have a Hello Kitty on it?
Yeah, zombie Hello Kitty. And
What the hell's wrong with you?
Goodbye. So this one's got the cutout for the forward assist on it. The pinholes are the right distance apart. It's fantastic, and I got a 3D.
That one actually
grip on there,
looks
too.
whiter as well.
It looks what?
It looks whiter on top where the upper and lower would meet. Is it white or is it just the camera?
I don't know. But one other thing they did change was this part is actually thinner, so you can fit a regular castle nut on there. Now, I haven't fired this yet to find out if it's going to fall apart on me, but I can't wait to see the look on people's faces when I
Bust out a
print
pink
this
AR
thing
lower.
outside. I don't care. I did it just to mess with people. Actually,
So
it's because this stuff takes so much plastic that I used pink because I had a couple spools of it that I hadn't even opened yet. So I just wanted to actually use it up a little bit. And I figured while I'm doing pink, I might as well paint a kitty on there.
So have you had any successful 3D printed AR lowers that actually fired and functioned?
Yeah, I mean, this one I held up when we first started, this is called the Bolt, and it's called that because it's held together with screws. It's actually printed out of several different parts, which you can tell because they're different colors. This is super easy to print, and if you have a small 3D printer, it will fit on there, which is nice because that other one, I have a fairly large printer and it barely fits diagonally on there. So this thing you can probably fit on just about any printer. It's not pretty, for sure, and it's got a lot of screws holding it together, which are metric hardware, unfortunately, which is hard to find in stores in the U.S. So it's not free to build it, even if you have the plastic, it's going to cost you a few bucks worth of screws. And the other thing is it doesn't have a bolt catch on it.
And how long did it take you to print and build that particular lower?
Probably only a couple days. It's faster to print than this one just because it's
the size.
Yeah, and the other thing that's nice about that one is it's made out of really thin pieces that are individual. If something breaks on it, you can just take it apart and swap out that piece and replace it. And I put 60 rounds through that last time. I did a video on that. Maybe I'll put a link to it so people can go see that. But no problems at all. So next time I'll shoot this one next time.
I want to go back to the Defense Distributed.
Yeah.
What's the story on something going on with them in the U.S. government?
Yeah. So they made this gun design called the Liberator, which was a single shot. It had a plastic barrel. It used a roofing nail as a firing pin, but otherwise didn't need to contain any metal. They posted that online saying, "Look we made a 3D printed gun," and the government got pissed because they say you can't distribute that kind of information to people outside of the country. So they basically forced them to take it down, and now they're in court trying to sort it out because since that happened, lots of other people have been designing and releasing these things online, like this one that's in my hand, without any problems at all. So I think they were trying to make an example out of Cody Wilson was his name, because he was a loudmouth talking about how the government can't stop you from doing this and blah, blah, blah. So I think they're trying to make an example out of him.
But that brings up a good point. How is the government going to stop people from making their own guns?
They're not. They're never going to. I mean, if you can't 3D print one, you could just go get the 80% lower. And if you can't do that, you could just go get a piece of pipe and a nail or whatever. People have been making guns at home for as long as guns have existed. And you're never going to stop that. Right? As long as there's a Home Depot, people are going to be able to make something that can fire a bullet.
True. Well, I think it's time for us to take a commercial break, so we'll be right back after a few minutes, and we'll have some more information for you. And welcome back. So,
hey, I thought I was the host today. So,
right, fine,
welcome back. That's right. Shame on you.
Wait, that guy.
So, one of the other things that I think is cool about 3D printers is not just printing guns, but you can make accessories for the guns you already have. There's a lot of that stuff in what's called the FOSCAD Mega Pack that I mentioned earlier. If you go Google that, you could probably find the link to it. Even though I said this, you're all going to go ask me where it's at anyway. It's only available via BitTorrent, simply because nobody wants to put that on their website due to the other, previously mentioned issues. So this is a grip that I printed, which is kind of a hard plastic equivalent of the magpul grip. I mean, you can see it has very nice detail. These slots in it for the grip is pretty awesome, actually. It's got the hole for the spring in it and everything.
So now you said
this
that
probably takes a couple hours to print.
So now you said on the upper that there were layers in the plastic, so the upper would separate from stress. What about your accessory, like the grip? I mean, I put a lot of force on my rifle grip when I'm shooting. Is there a fear of that snapping off?
Well, this thing is printed 100% infill, so it's solid. It's pretty thick. I could probably break it if I really wanted to, but I don't really want to. I wouldn't worry about this thing breaking off. No. So
Other than a Hello Kitty accessory for the Hello Kitty lower that I know you've probably already printed in pink, what other accessories have you printed?
okay, so I have this.
What is that?
Bump fire stock.
What is a bump fire stock for people who don't know?
It allows you to simulate full automatic firing.
But
Basically,
isn't that
it
illegal?
goes like this. No, it's not illegal. Because your trigger,
Why not?
your finger is pulling the trigger. Basically, it slides like this. So you pull forward on the gun, and then it recoils, and your hand pulling forward makes it keep firing as long as you're pulling forward. It takes some practice. I'm not very good at it. I did get this thing
How
to
long
shoot
did it?
about 7
How long
rounds
did
in
it
a
take
row.
you to get your first good burst out of it?
I don't know if I really did get any good bursts out of it, but I did get a string of like 5 or 7 is the best I got out of a couple mags that I tried. So I think with some practice you could do a lot better, but this thing actually has a pad on it that I printed out of Ninja Flex, which is a rubber filament. It's pretty sweet.
How long did that
It's
take to
actually
print?
squishy?
This take a while. Yeah, it's squishy.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So this actually took a while to print because it's a few pieces, but I don't know, probably a couple days. I figured it was worth a try. I already had the plastic, so it's basically was free. Whereas if you went and bought one of these, it would cost you at least $100, which is a lot of money for something that's just going to waste ammo. Right?
Oh, yeah. Full auto or simulated auto is fun, but definitely a waste of ammunition.
We can take it out next time, and I'll let you waste all of your own ammo you want trying it out. He's like, no.
Ammo's not cheap.
That's
It
because
still
you
costs
have
money.
That's because you have a single stage press. That's your problem.
No, I don't. I've upgraded.
I have
remember?
the single stage press.
I have the
Yeah, but
Loadmaster now. Remember?
Yeah, but you come over here to do all your reloading of the
This
full
is true.
stuff,
This
so
is true.
it doesn't count.
I bought the Lee Loadmaster, remember? And I actually got one that runs. Unlike some other people who can't get theirs to run right.
Okay.
Oh, there's horror stories. We'll talk about reloading and reloading issues in a later episode, but let's not jump into that dinosaur and
Yeah, that could be
pitfall and yeah. We could go for like another hour on reloading stuff. What else have you printed? Anything else gun related?
No, I don't think so. There are other things, like somebody made a model of the magpul AFG, the angled foregrip.
Mm-hmm.
So you just print that out, and then you just need a screw to attach it to the rail. There's other grips. There's a whole load of lower receivers. This is only 2 of them that I've showed you. There's a whole bunch more. These just happen to be my favorite 2. Yeah, those group of guys, FOSCAD, they're cranking out all kinds of stuff, making improvements and modifications to the stuff they've already designed. And they just recently released the newer version of their Mega Pack, which has a lot of this stuff. Like the Vanguard JT 1.1 is part of that new release that just came out. This one does have a bolt catch, although I did not install it on this one. People say it puts a lot of strain on that little spot on the receiver, and I didn't want to break it, so I figured I would just leave it off. So
now, what about... Go ahead.
I was going to say, other thing that I did do is I 3D printed some shelves for my reloading dies that I designed myself. So all my dies go in little holes that are stuck on this thing I designed that's attached to the pegboard in my reloading area.
That seems a lot nicer than all the little boxes that I've got on my desk of all the
Plus
die sets.
They're all up out of the way, and they're actually individually labeled with which caliber They are. It's 3D printed right into the front of the shelf. That's actually the first thing I designed. I designed those before I even had my printer. That was a big project because I've got a few calibers that I reload for.
A few.
A few. I won't say the number, but it's greater than 2 and less than 20.
So what is the legality issue with printing?
Oh,
Is there,
I can't believe we didn't even mention that. We've talked about the Undetectable Firearms Act, but people don't realize most of the time that it's perfectly legal to make guns at your home already, and it always has been. As long as you are legally allowed to own them, then you could make one too. Unless there's a law that says you can't in your particular state or area. But at least in Washington and federally, if you're not a prohibited person, then you can make your own guns, whether they're plastic or not.
So can I buy that Hello Kitty lower from you for my girlfriend or my wife?
No, that's the other thing. The ATF doesn't like it when you transfer non-serialized lower receivers. So you can't print this out for a friend. That's definitely not legal.
and if you
cannot
did sell
you
it,
cannot sell this. Yeah, they request that you put a serial number on it if you're going to sell it. I believe you can actually give this away as a gift as long as you don't originally make it for someone else. The problem is that's impossible to prove, so I wouldn't do it. Like, I know one person that would like a Hello Kitty gun, maybe. But they don't get this because I'm keeping it. I mean, maybe eventually when I'm done with it, I'll put it in the shredder, you know, or melt it down or whatever.
she might be a little upset with that.
I'm assuming you guys both must know this person.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we do.
So, let's see. What else?
Oh no.
I think that's about it tonight.
Your flag looks awesome back there, by the way.
Near him.
The flag. You.
Ah, thank you very
'Cause
much.
It's waving around.
I got my ceiling fan going so it waves, you know.
You both have new backdrops tonight. Why don't you talk about your backdrops?
Oh, geez, really? We made some.
Yes, why not?
We made some frames out of PVC yesterday, and to attach our flags to. Because you guys had fancy backdrops last week, but I didn't.
The Second Amendment,
Original.
America's original Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Boom. I'd show you what I'm talking about, but y'all need to see what I got.
We don't want to see it. Keep it in your pants, please.
Or
That's
holster.
usually where.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm
It's
sure
in my
it's in his
holster.
pants. Yeah, mine says you just don't mess with freedom. Unfortunately, I'm
And you-
covering
and-
most
and
of
of
it
course,
up.
with mine, you can't go with the good old red, white, and blue.
America.
Hell
With
yeah.
a little bit of camo behind it.
Can't see that.
You can't see that. That's the same thing from last week. Why don't you be a little bit more original?
It's his bed sheets. He took
Original.
a
This
lot
guy,
just
this
to
coming
make
from
this.
the guy that's using the same background as last week.
Yeah, you know, you got to invest in some better stuff, man. You got to change it up.
We'll do a. I'll get the green screen, and then you can put a new background behind me every week.
Oh, you want to let me be in charge of your background? You're pretty brave.
No. That's okay. I'll pass.
Okay, I thought so.
That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Maybe like Whose Line Is It Anyway? We're calling mockeries in front of the
Yeah,
green screen.
exactly. You got
That'd
to
be
try.
hilarious.
You got to try to. We'll give you hints throughout the show, and you got to try to guess what's behind you the whole time, without us ever really saying anything.
Please don't. It end up being like something like or something like that.
No.
Oh, you had to go there.
This is almost
That's
a family-friendly show.
No, it was family friendly.
It was.
Think that.
Not anymore. Sorry, we just
Yeah.
went downhill.
Yeah, and that's a perfect way to end the show today. Now that you've grossed everybody out, we are officially out of time. So,
Thank you for joining us this evening.
yes, if you
Have a
liked
good night.
our show, or if you don't like it, I don't care if you. Well, I mean, I do care if you like it. But please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, send it to your friends, send it to your grandma, because you know she's just dying to hear about 3D printed guns.
And comments. We like comments too.
Comments are
Thumbs
good.
up. comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe, please. We don't like doing this. We don't like doing this just to talk to ourselves, even though
We could do this without recording it and give each other crap for hours.
that's true.
That's true.
But
We should do a blooper reel sometime. It's pretty damn funny.
maybe someday. All right. Thanks for joining us. Thank you. Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.